First step, washing the buckets. Just like washing dishes. Warm, soapy water. And our spiles, that's the part that goes in the tree the sap comes out of. We're cleaning them by boiling them in a little pan of water for a few minutes. Two tools we need to tap our maple trees. First, the bit and brace with a 7/16 inch bit. That's for the old style spiles. And you can use a cordless drill or a gas powered drill, or if you're close enough to use a corded drill, whatever you want to drill the hole, it doesn't really matter. I like this. It's what I grew up using. It's old school, suits me well. And second is just we need a hammer of some kind to pound our spiles in with. Let's see if we can find one. The good old Est-wing hammer, one of my faves. Alright, let's go tap some trees. And here we made it to the woods. Found a few maple trees. Let's poke some holes in them. Okay, so we drilled our holes. We drilled that about 1.5 to 2 inches, maybe tops, deep in that tree. I like to blow in the hole a little bit, make sure there's no chips or anything in there that's gonna plug up your spile after you put it in. So now we'll put in our spile. Put it in the hole, then you take your hammer, and this is where it's a little tricky. Tap on that, not too hard. I'm really choked up on the hammer, see, I'm not swinging very hard until it keep going in, and then it'll get to a point where it will bounce, see, and it won't go in any further, and that's where you want to stop, because you don't want to split the bark around the hole, because it'll leak, and you don't want to drive it too far in there. So there we go, it's running good. Let's hang a bucket on there. Bucket hangs right on the little hook, and we're collecting sap. And the lid sets over the top, keeps any rainwater and debris out, and there we go. We got one done. Okay, time for a little tour of our maple syrup evaporator. I've boiled sap on a lot of different things over the years, but this is what we're using right now. A friend of mine actually gave me this little setup. Wood-fired, as you can see. Take a look inside. A big old fire going in there. Boiling hard on the top. We're burning old black locust posts for heat. They burn super hot. Great for this application. See 3 chambers in here with a little preheating tank / fill valve. So the idea is that that valve drips in sap at the same rate that it evaporates out of the pan, which, depending on how well you keep your fire and stuff, that you may need to do a little adjusting here and there. So fresh sap is coming in on this side, and as it's eventually going to push low concentration of sugar pushes through the sections of this pan. I don't know if you can see, it's got holes down in the corner, then up in that corner, eventually pushes higher concentration stuff through to this side, where we have a valve over here where we can draw off. So I've been boiling on this probably 3-4 hours, and I think it's about time to draw a little off of it to go into our finish pan. I'm going to try to give you an idea of how you can tell when. Let's see, we're getting a lot of tight bubbles in here, a little bit of a film starting to form on that. It means it's a little bit thicker liquid, higher concentration of sugar. You could measure the temperature in that. You can also kind of look at the color, get a little bit darker color. You could boil lots of ways with propane or gas, but nothing beats the pure joy of boiling with wood. So we're getting ready, we're inside on the kitchen stove, getting ready to finish our maple syrup here. Now, there's a thermometer in there, and a lot of people like to do it that way they have a number to work with. It's supposed to be syrup at 7 degrees above boiling, which is 219 degrees. But you're supposed to calibrate that for whatever the boiling temperature of water is on any given day. But since I've never been one to follow convention, I have my own way that I like to do it. Usually works out just fine for me. It's hard to screw it up. You know, if you didn't boil it enough, it might be a little watery. You can always reboil it. If you go too far, it can crystallize out in the bottom of your jars. You know, if you're selling it, if you're a commercial producer, that's an issue. If you're just making syrup for fun and for your own use and to bask in the glory that is maple syrup, then who cares, right? All right, so how I kind of tell whether it's done or not. And just a little side note, when you're getting to the end of the boiling process here, you got to watch your heat, because if you get it too hot, it can boil over that pot in a hurry and make one big fat mess on your stove. So as it gets closer to where you want it, you're going to see a lot more smaller bubbles. See smaller diameter bubbles. If you watch it close, it'll undergo a change. The size of the bubbles will change. They'll go from big to small, which we don't have. We've got mostly small bubbles in there now, so it's pretty close. And my number one determinant is I just take a spoon, put a little in there. You got to let it cool. Blow on it a little bit. Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about the finishing steps of maple syrup. So we tapped our trees, we gathered, we boiled, and the last part is to filter it and can it. You can can it in different size containers. These little ones are nice if you want to give some away to friends and family. That way you don't have to give away a whole quart of your liquid gold. So when we finish, we're bringing it up to, on the stove, up to your 219 degrees or whatever you perceive as your finished product, if you like it thicker or thinner. And then we run it through this, it's a felted wool filter. It actually comes in 2 pieces. I'm sure you could go online and find from a maple syrup supply place these filters. And then we have a little can specifically for that these filters fit in. They hang over the edge. This is a 2-piece one because it will kind of clog it up, so it's nice to be able to take this one out, rinse, take some hot water. You can rinse a lot of the sand and the sugar sand and stuff out of it, and then put it back in to get more stuff to flow through it. And then this particular little can has a valve on the bottom, which is very nice for filling jars out of. And then the majority of our product we just put in quart jars, which when you make and preserve your own food, you have an abundance of quart jars. And as far as cleaning the filters after you use them, I just throw them right in the washing machine with no soap on hot water, and then you can either line dry them or dry them in the dryer real quick, and they're ready to use again. You don't want to use soap on them because you don't want to have any soap residue left in here where you get that, washed into your final product, right? So, and another option, if you don't want to buy these filters or have the setup, you can just put it straight into the jar and it will settle. You'll have a little bit, maybe an eighth or so in the bottom that has like sediment in it, sugar sand, maybe a little wood ash from boiling, but it's still good stuff on the top. So, and then we'll show you a little bit quickly here. This is the very first syrup we made this year. This is kind of middle. And towards the end, you can see it keeps getting darker as you go through the season. And they all have a very unique flavor to them. I find that the early season stuff has a very mapley, most distinct maple flavor what I would call this distinct maple flavor. And then towards the end, the dark stuff has an almost like robust molassesy type flavor, which they're all very enjoyable. I like them all. So some people have their own preferences, but I like them all. And that's about it, I guess. So this is, to me, making maple syrup is I've done it since I was a child. My father was a maple syrup maker. It's in my blood, and it's one of my favorite things to do. So, and it's nothing more rewarding than making a batch of pancakes and putting your own homemade maple syrup on it. So I hope this video was useful and insightful, and thank you for watching.